Thank you. Anyone here for public comment? So let us move to the approval of minutes from the January 17th meeting. Any thoughts? Have you had a chance to review those, or do you want?
I have had a chance to review them, and I was not present at that meeting.
Oh, okay.
While I read the minutes, I just I could vote on it.
I probably shouldn't just vote by myself. We'll put this off till next time. That makes sense.
There were December minutes in January, so, she wasn't here for the December meeting. So those look good to me. We could approve those minutes.
Okay. I second that. Let's approve those minutes. Now we have a progress report. Future phases and upcoming projects.
We are working on getting the remaining contracts closed. We've closed 6 of them to date. And we have one outstanding item that Tetra Tech is working on with us in the pool at the handrail. There's some gaps that are concerning. So they're working with a local fabricator to come up with a solution. And then we'll get those proposed to the contractor who did the handrails and see what we can do to facilitate that installation. The contractor is from Florida. Our approach will be, this is the cost. We're going to take it out of your contract if you're okay with that, and we'll get someone else to put them in that's local. So we can get that done quicker and be able to get that closed out. The high school roof, all work is substantially complete, and we are in closeout with that as well. Middle school temperature controls, we're still finishing up balancing, commissioning, working on closeout with the contractors. There's a few items that have been identified by the commissioning agent that are not part of the capital project that was done, but are impacting functionality. So we're working with Tetra Tech to determine what needs to be done with that. Some of them are maintenance issues like new belts and things like that, that facilities should be able to take care of as well. Phase 2, the LACS project. Since we last met, the roof over the new vestibule has been installed in temp. It's not complete. We still have detailing to do there. That'll be completed once the facade is complete there. Interior framing and drywall has been installed at the desk and the vestibule area. We have a temporary enclosure at the front of the building, which you'll see in the monthly report photos that we've been able to work within and continue working while we're waiting for the curtain wall enclosure that will be permanent to be delivered. We've installed doors and frames. We've been reporting doors for several months delay. They arrived at the end of January, and as available, they've been putting in the new doors where they can. The black spot vestibule has had the steel erected and the slab on grade poured. Again, that's a lot of what we call curtain wall, which is glass and aluminum framing. We're waiting for those components to be delivered. I'd like to take this opportunity to just give a really quick update on door hardware across a few of the buildings to address some concerns that were raised at the last board meeting I was at in reference to line of sight at the toilet rooms. We've come to a conclusion and a solution that meets everybody's needs. We're going to use what they call mag hold opens. You'll see them in your corridors at the fire doors. They're on the door and on the wall, and they hold it open in the event of a fire alarm activation. They release and the door closes. We're going to use that same functionality at the toilet rooms where principals in LACS, DeWitt, and the high school have asked for line of sight, yet for fire code, we need doors. So this was a good compromise, and I think everyone's happy. Any questions about progress at LACS before we move on?
This maybe get there, but anticipated completion date by next school year.
Yes. The completion date for LACS is end of February. We will not be getting that because of material delays, but we anticipate it being done before school is complete this year. We do have work scheduled for next week there as well for the new light poles and bases at the south end. And the goal is to get the old ones out, the new ones in Sean with the new light poles on, and at least have as many lit as are lit now. We are adding, I think, 2 on the uphill side of that parking area that I've instructed the electrician. Those are gravy if we get them, but I want at least the same number that are lit there now, so we don't leave a dark area at the end of next week.
Is that the area there was some concern about light pollution? No.
No, this is the other end by the black box and the gym.
Okay,
Bill, as you come up around the corner, it's that end of the building.
okay.
There's currently 3 fixtures there, and I think we're putting in 1 or 2 more to help light that better.
Okay.
So that work is scheduled to occur next week. We were waiting for a decision of how to proceed there, and we got it, so we're gonna move forward. Okay, any other questions for LACS before we move on? At DeWitt, the auditorium main seating area flooring has gone down the LVT luxury vinyl tile. We're waiting for the nosings to come in that will trim the corner edges of that. So if you take a visit, it's not complete. Do not be concerned. The auditorium ceiling, we had a modification there as well. It was called out to be a white ceiling. Daphne visited and requested it be black, so we had to paint the grid and reorder the ceiling tile, which has been done. We've started to put in some of the perimeter tile that won't impact any lights or anything like that to get a head start on that. Lights in that ceiling were anticipated to be delivered anytime, so I'm not sure if they've been received and connections have started to go in with those yet. And in the interim, the electrician's been working a lot of the audio visual and system rough-in for the auditorium sound system, lighting, and so on.
I can't resist. Should I be looking up luxury vinyl tile at some point in time?
You don't know what luxury?
No, I did. What's with luxury?
It's the same floor as in lower York Hall.
Okay, gotcha.
It's just.
I think gold trained or what I.
Yeah.
Very limited.
Any questions at DeWitt?
My apologies. We are gonna follow that same process when we get to Boynton, right, about the ceiling. And we knew that we were gonna find a way to use the tiles that we ordered. We're just gonna hold on to them and find a way to use them in some other project.
Yes,
Some other point in time.
or further in this one, we
Gotcha.
had an opportunity for it, Sean. Okay, at South Hill, if you've been by, there's a big steel structure there now. The deck is on. They've been putting in roof drains yesterday and the day before. So we're preparing for roofing to go on that addition. They are starting block as well. And that is proceeding up there. We actually met with Streeter today, and one of the items we talked about was the progress on that building and how we need to focus on getting the interior spaces available and enclosed to be able to get those finishes done so that Perry has a place to move to for our summer work that starts in June, where his office is currently located. Any other questions at South Hill?
If it's okay with you, I'd like to just interject a little bit about South Hill in case it comes to the board attention. South Hill project seems as if that's the location that decided to kind of throw us a couple of curveballs here and there. And I'm going to be really kind about that, right? So Cindy met with Streeter today, which is the general contractor, to really essentially lay out our expectations around health and safety at that building, and really attention to the detail that we are opening our spaces to construction while learning is happening. And when construction begins to disrupt learning, we need to work together to ensure that that's not going to happen in the future. And so obviously the past items that have occurred, we wanted to address those as well and kind of problem solve how they won't happen again. So there have been 3 things that really rose to the level of the principal having to reach out to the community with the help of the communications team. Heather's team was amazing with these. I mean, we were all hands on deck, working in collaboration with the construction project, which typically they're separate, right? Usually the facilities work through ICSD and then the construction work and we communicate, but we shouldn't know that they're there. So first one was the water line break that caused tremendous damage in the lower level, caused the ceiling to become wet in multiple places. We've actually had to remove that ceiling. The pipe continued down the hallway. It flooded out 4 classrooms, I think, along the line. Heather called in the team to, clear that out and use airflow to dry it out, and we're like taking air sampling. So that was the first big disruption.
When was that?
That was right around the holidays.
December 28th,
6:38 PM.
You don't have a memory of it at all, do you? Wow,
It was
it was during break.
great work. Streeter will be, right, either through their own mechanism or insurance will be paying for those things. That Cindy is working on right now. We are not, that is on them and the insurance potential.
Jill's question, part of it, I think, were we able to be obviously back up and running before the start of? Yep.
There was a minor disruption to learning in that one room was relocated, I think, for 1 day or 2 days, awaiting air quality testing, which ended up being perfect. So there was a minor disruption that they were able to plan for ahead of time, and they had it kind of went like clockwork.
Second was it was diesel oil, it was diesel fuel that was filling an item that it overflowed. We were not alerted to that.
actually, update on that. It was a cap left off of the heater. Heater was relocated and the fuel sloshed, or the cap wasn't on tight enough. Either way, it was from the heater. It was a rainy day, which did not help our efforts. And it did migrate out of the construction area across the hard surface playground.
That's right.
The
Resource goes out, kids get it on their clothes, get it on the balls, right? So we offered cleaning, right, for any items, but again, disruption number 2.
And the GC did have a cleaning company come into the building that weekend and mop and clean any surfaces where fuel oil or fuel was trapped.
And what was the date on that?
I don't have that date just in the back of my head, but it was within 2 weeks of
I
the
want to say
first.
early January,
Yeah.
very, very.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it was the first week we were back, but the second week.
It was a nicer day, kids outside. Very, in anticipation, I think there was an issue with the heater, right, that failed and they replaced it. So the attention to that led to this particular heater. And I think in their effort to get that quickly done, maybe not analyzing perhaps the way that the exhaust was coming out and that exhaust fume went into the building. And again, these same classrooms, right? So now you have moment 3, as a parent, as a teacher, as a student, parent, right? Like this feels like a lot. This feels overwhelming now. We immediately reached out to campus, who alerted Streeter of this. You had a safety meeting on that Monday with them. We with all contractors. We had their health and safety expert from Streeter come out, do a report, meet with their team, do corrective action planning. So we, just so you know, we have been including all of these steps that we're taking to Perry so that he could include that to communication and families as well. But it's reactive, right? This felt reactive to us. We want to be proactive.
That day, their safety manager did bring CO2 and gas sniffers with him and walked the entire building and found no issue at that time. It was a few hours after the initial notice of the smell in the building and the spaces had been ventilated by opening windows and what have you. The heater was turned off. The heater was located where it should be, according to OSHA, away from the building. It was a windy day. And unfortunately, it just found its way to one unit ventilator's intake on the side of the building.
And I think if that was isolated, it would have been very different, right?
Right.
But because it came on the heels of two other things, it was feeling really disruptive.
Which was our message to them is, you know, you've having 3 issues in 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks. You've used up your tolerance at this building for an issue. As Amanda said, if this was the first issue, it probably would not have been as highly elevated as it was being
The fumes were smelled, then what happens? The building evacuated, fire come, fire?
No, that's
I mean, it was really kind of during recess time, so we were able to utilize other spaces, right, outdoor spaces, things like that. Obviously windows were open, that really helps, right, get that spill out. We tested the air quality right away, as soon as we could, I mean, actually, until they got, right, like, the tester came.
But the CO2 detectors in the building did not.
That's right.
I wonder if the fire department should have been called. The smell of fumes in a building occupies.
Heather, do you have any feedback on that? I mean.
It did not reach the level of, like the smoke has, I think it explained like they test air impurity. It didn't reach a level of impurity that would warrant a response by any type of.
But it was noticeable, somebody smelled it,
Smell,
yeah.
smelled and also wasn't dangerous. It was just unpleasant, I think.
And was quickly resolved. We did not dismiss school. We did not evacuate the kids out or get a fire drill or anything like that. As Heather said, they were just relocated to other parts of the building, while the room that was affected was ventilated.
It was really in one room.
For the most part, that's my understanding. It probably migrated into the hallway with doors opening and closing too, but the main location where it infiltrated was one classroom's ventilator.
Yeah, instead of the air intake bringing in the fresh air from outside, kind of caught a whiff of the fumes. As it pulled that air in, and then when they shut it off, then the problem is immediately mitigated to pulling the fresh air again.
This is all the same classroom spaces. But it's not just the same school, it's all the same classrooms.
It's the row of classroom, and the libraries above it,
Yeah.
and then the rooms below the library.
Yeah.
That's where the intensity of the capital projects happening, right? And that's the other, right, so it's like, we recognize this tolerance of families, Carrie has been wonderful, our communications team has been fantastic, we've really been engaging with the family, and we also said enough. Right, so, it's essentially, you know, the health and safety measure have to improve, or we have to look at other options. Whether that, there's lots of, we've talked about a lot of those options and what they mean, they all have impacts. Right,
So I know there's been communication, right, so I mentioned it's email and letters and right through classroom
engagement
pictures.
meetings, absolutely.
Has there been some sort of evening meeting to invite parents and caregivers just to alleviate concerns, answer questions? I mean, I can imagine if that was my classroom with my kid, I'd be asking some questions, right? I want a space to be able to, and maybe Perry's already taken care of it and Ainsley and talking to folks directly. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I would like to ask Perry that question before I answer,
Understood.
because just because I don't know, doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Because I will tell you that from what we can see, his communication has been immediate, accurate, responsive, compassionate, right? And I think it's included the team. We've all been sitting, Heather, like we've all been sitting through these, making sure that he has the accurate information in a very timely manner. And also feel important to mention it to all of you, right? If letters or any information comes your way, I think there are other strategies we can always take, right? But let me reach out to Perry about that. Any other questions on this? Thank you for allowing me to just sort of update you on this.
So
Okay. High school, as we have reported at OACM, we took the Area G toilet rooms early. Because they had a wall failure. So the district was gonna have to do something with those spaces at that time anyway. Why not do the construction that was planned? That our hope was that they would be done so we could take H this break coming up. That's not the case. So we will be continuing to work on the Area G toilet rooms until the April break. And then do Area H according to the original schedule.
And we are working through the signage slash space utilization in terms of gender inclusive versus gender. There's a real dialogue happening at the high school. We're in it, and so we'd like to update you in the next.
So currently in those bathrooms, we've been conducting plumbing rough-in, mechanical rough-in. We do have a conflict with the lights. After the pitch of the pipes from second floor to first floor was installed, there's not room for the lights. So we're working with Tetra Tech on a solution, most likely a socket. So,
Thank you, Cindy.
any other questions on the capital project that's underway? Let me give a quick update on phase 3. So phase 3A1 is the Enfield roof. We all know what happened with that contract. We are back out on the street requesting new proposals from 5 roofers. One has already declined. It's too far for them to come from Utica. But we have 4 active proposals that we anticipate on receiving. Excuse me. Phase 3A2 is the work at BJM for window replacements and masonry replacements. And then up at Enfield, the cafetorium facade, the library, toilet room next to the library renovation, and some ancillary work to tie in more roof drains to structures. All of that went out on the street for bid on March 3rd. We held a pre-bid meeting last Monday. And we are anticipating bids on February 28th.
when you say, you mean March 3rd of 2022?
No, February 3rd. February 3rd they went out, right?
No, March 3rd. Oh, yes, February.
Oh, I would go for it to be March.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be
No,
clear.
sorry, yeah, February 3rd.
Yeah.
That's the whole month. Vacation and COVID stuff. So yeah, February 3rd, thank you. And we're hopeful, we have good participation, we think, from the folks that we've called for contractors, many of which have already been on our projects for this capital project throughout the phases. And we have some new folks that are looking. So we hope to have good results on bid day.
Thank you. We have a guest.
Dr. Wolbach, would you love to join us here at this table? It'd be great. So we have about, I know, Jill, I'm gonna help you keep time here. I'll be your partner. So we have 15 minutes and we have Dr. Wolbach and we have Heather Williams as well, 2 remaining agenda items. Dr. Wolbach, I'd like to introduce you to our board. We have our board president, Dr. Sean Humphrey Bradwell, Karen Yearwood, and Jill Trick, who is our chair at facility. Our facilities director, Heather, and then our exec team members, staff, and then campus instruction, Cindy. So Dr. Wolbach is here because she will be leading all of the amazing efforts to engage the full Fall Creek community and beyond, including board stakeholders and others, for our very important playground attention. Right, so in about 5 minutes to 7 minutes, we're going to just do a little introduction of sort of the integration of the research, and then we'll move on, and Heather can then come in as well. But we just wanted to give you a little introduction.
Great, I did prepare a slide or two.
All right.
Do you want me to pull it up? I can take it online somewhere if I.
Fantastic. You want to use my computer? Or Trisha can. How do you want to do that? She can say email it.
I'll need to download it.
We'll do that right here.
Do you want to get prepared and maybe Heather can go?
We'll switch spots, is that all right?
How about that?
All right, I'll keep it tonight for you for a sec.
And then I'll be here.
Excellent, that's slide two.
Jill, I hope that's okay. I just totally modified your agenda access. Sorry.
Anyway, while you're doing that, I'll do the talking part. So I do have a couple pictures. Yeah, we'll get to the pictures in a second. One of the visions that I shared with you 7 months ago when I started is that we wanted facilities to really go more of a collaborative thought partner in the care and keeping of spaces. And in the 7 months, we have built capacity from supporting teaching and learning to unifying around enhancing teaching and learning. And really growing in our department and an understanding of everything that we're doing, impacting the life of a child. And that includes impacting the life of an adult. So with or without the pictures, I can tell you what I was going to talk about. And if that is fine, I'll get to go with that. That one of the pictures that I had to show is our friend Jaime and Travis Coordinator. Oh, fantastic. You don't even have to use your imagination. That's great. I'll just store right up here. There we go. See, no, not even any words. So HR had a recent move. Oh my goodness, I don't know what happened there. Just tricking me. Holy cow. All right, so we have Jaime and Travis Coordinator, who is a newly appointed maintainer. And Jaime is tutoring, teaching Travis in some elements of safety regarding wiring. This occurred in the HR, which way is over there? Thanks. If you take a peek on the way by there, you'll notice that it's newly configured, newly cleaned, newly painted, newly set up. And we had tremendous support and teamwork around that with our department and grounds in terms of moving and custodial in terms of cleaning. In case this goes away again, imagine here in the top left.
Got it.
Imagine a beautiful new bench that arrived at Cuca Heights. This was hand built by our own Travis Rumsey. Notice that the bench was looking a little raggedy, and so he took it and made a new one. Down here, boy, did you miss a fascinating hour of my life where we sat with Jerry, who does our keys, and various folks from campus, and we talked about toilet rooms. But what was great about it is to have the right people at the table in terms of listening and participating in the conversation. Cut off accidentally, we had Lauren Wright and Carlin Gray, who were the educational leaders at the middle schools, and then Chris Glavitz was leading that. So it's a great collaboration. Down here, it's hard to imagine, but you can just drive by it now because you got yourself a new tennis court fence. That was an amazing collaboration between our ground and our maintenance staff, because we had to remove a whole bunch of lighting and conduit in a big hurry to prepare this to be safe and to look like it does. And many meetings with the engineers to support the branding materials that the district already had in terms of athletics to keep our athletes safe. So those will be.
Quick question about the fence. I knew that we had conduit on the fence as well. Have
Yes.
we resolved that where that won't be a concern in the future, or we had to still keep conduit?
The conduit is going to be replaced as it was.
Gotcha.
There's not another way to do it without removing all the poles. So we're gonna, but it's not going to be silver and black. We are going to unify our aesthetic theme. And do that to make sure that we're looking sharp and that you can see everything that you need to do. Here, it's hard to see, there is now a 24-foot path around the high school. And that is because a lot of our vegetation was overgrowing into the intake units for our univents. And looking at our test results from spaces we had tested through BOCES, we weren't seeing anything that was contaminated. But we were seeing that there should be a larger difference between the air you test outside and the air you test inside. And there wasn't. So this was a remediation step, and this will occur at all buildings to make sure that all the air that's coming in is as clean as possible. And then the last thing, Travis Rumsey strikes again. this, if you travel down to Caroline Elementary School, you will see that he sat with the Caroline students and their educational leader Karen and made a beautiful handcrafted set of mandolin racks so that all of their instruments for music are up and out of the way. So this concludes the show. Thank you, Heather. Go ahead.
I need to stand up there. Thank you. Pull that up. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. I'm relatively new to the Ithaca area. I'm from Canada originally. I came here to take a position at court now a couple of months before COVID and the border shut. So that was my timing isn't always best, but so over the last couple of years, I've been trying to do a lot of community engaged work and research. And as you see, most of my work focuses on environments for children and youth. Yeah. Oh, I don't know whether people. You can just go right to the slide number 3 there. So just quickly, so my very eclectic background ranging from engineering and environmental design to your social sciences research with children. And I do you do the slideshow version? So,
do you want the slide mover over?
Oh, you have that?
Yeah. Pardon.
Thank you.
Bottom, very bottom. Slide where the minus, the one that's right by the sign, click that button.
Yeah. Are we,
Or we should go do.
there we go. Okay. So a lot of my work is the role of play environment. And I consider play and learning quite synonymous. So those I'm not talking about play spaces, but learning spaces as well. I look a lot at outdoor environments, particularly nature-rich environments, looking at the impact on health and development and learning, and then how we can design these play and learning environments, particularly outdoor, better than supporting children. I do a lot of work youth, working with children, youth, and community. I do quite a bit of engaged and participatory research and design. And a lot of my work focuses around the framework of positive youth development, and also looking at some of the mental health, well-being, really helping kids have environments where they can thrive, not just be. So the relative sort of environments that I look at, so play and learning environments is kind of the meat of what I do. Those can be formal to informal, outdoors and interiors. I do quite a bit at the neighborhood scale as well, looking at how children use their neighborhoods, move around them if they're allowed to, but also public, particularly public recreation, play, and green spaces. And so starting to do quite a bit of work around Tompkins County in this area. And these are not mutually exclusive, always focusing on healthy and therapeutic environments. Sometimes that's in school, sometimes in healthcare facility, etc. So what I am looking at or proposing to do to engage with the effective renovation project, there's 2 pieces. One is the engagement piece with the students. School may also be the community. So I said do a lot of participatory planning design with children. I've done this many times with schools and with communities to engage the kids. We do it over a fair bit of time. We don't do sort of one-off things. I really feel we need that longer term engagement. And year after year, I see kids producing. I mean, they're actually really savvy designers. They give them the right tools, they can completely articulate what they want and need. Everyone thinks they're going to design like lollipop gardens, and they don't at all. And so part of this, we're hoping to start right now. We're already engaging with Caitlin at the school to look at some, begin chatting with, talking to the kids, to the staff, but preparing for a participatory design program that we would do in the fall, maybe with one class, maybe with a couple of classes, but over a couple months, with the idea of producing some, their priority experiences and we don't focus so much on amenities, we focus on experiences that they want. And then also with some design recommendations that we will weave in and share with Tetra Tech, et cetera. But parallel to this, these are quite overlapping. I'm interested in researching the impact of this renovation. Renovations like this are very hard to find, especially in time to set up some pre-research. So we're hoping to do some pre and post evaluations of the impacts of the renovation on play, on learning, social interactions, health. I'd be interested, we're already beginning to talk about what outcomes are of interest to the school and the school board. But also the impacts on the students of participating in these design planning projects. With the idea that generally some of the outcomes would be an evaluation of those impacts in various ways. A synthesis of what, you know, the kids, the staff, the school, maybe eventually the community, what their needs and wishes are for the space. Tied into design recommendations that we would provide in the design brief, we would provide to Tetra Tech and their landscape architects as well. But also try to provide some resources that would help you know, do this with other schools in the district. So it's been interested in using this as the first of maybe many. So we would be looking at documenting those models and those processes for the school board so they could utilize those in other schools. So I think that's me. I always put this up. If anybody's interested in knowing more about me, you can scan that. But if we have, if there's time for a question or two, questions.
Trying to get all my information by scanning the QR code. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment.
Go for it.
First, thank you. This is without question exciting work. We did have a conversation. I hope that we continue it with our central administration, that we also are going to do some sort of playground celebration / goodbye, right? That this is going to be a difficult transition for our students. And all of our schools are community-based without question, but I cannot think of another school that's so neighborhood-based. This is quite possibly the most neighborhood active school we have. So the interaction is not just about the elementary students who are there, but also the how do we engage the neighborhood as well. I think would be something that I know that I would like to make sure to. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What an exciting approach to rebuild.
I am aware of the tension around what needs to happen and how to help navigate that. So and
You stated it.
Yeah.
You know, now that we mentioned that, tell me again why we need to have a new playground there now.
You know, structures that reach their end of useful. And they're actually the materials that were chosen at the time and the elements that they're living in. We want to revive them. So for example, are there elements of that playground we were talking about the other day that we want to continue, and the kids say these are icons, like this is, we have to have this, right? We're going to either repurpose that and create those elements in perhaps a newer, better material and keep that same homage, right? While also having a space that supports the growth and learning and development of the kids today in 2023. So it's that combination. We may not be getting rid of that feeling and that spirit and what you see, the visuals, but the materials of which they're made are no longer safe. I mean, you can still use them, but they're reaching the end of their safety. Some have been removed. You actually can't use, like, things have rotted away, like little bridges and like the swing, like things have sort of like kind of aged out, and we've been replacing them as we can.
And that's what we would have expected, a 25-year lifespan on something like that.
or wood structure.
So,
Yeah, well, that's
May I
okay.
interject?
yeah,
Hey, Jill, my dad built rabbit playgrounds for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And, yeah, very much so.
wow, it's been a fast 20 years for me, I don't know.
And I think we're gonna see that. I think we're gonna see the kids say, keep, ooh, can we reimagine? And remember too, this is incorporating also that space where the basketball court is and then up the hill, right? So it's really that whole side of the building.
Classroom, it's right now.
It's gonna be great.
I have a scientific study of a 7-year-old who was running all the playgrounds in neighborhoods. If you want that data, let me know.
Just say too, a lot of my work, what we tend to find in a lot of play spaces and playgrounds is that only a limited range of play is being supported, which tends to be really physical play, which is not necessarily, but I do work, there's 9 different types of outdoor play that we're trying to support. And physical play is one of them, and it tends to be what we focus on most, not what every child needs or children have, a morning and afternoon, they may be different. So we're also trying to provide place for those restorative places as well. We're just trying to provide diversity so that there's many opportunities for kids to engage in that space, play actively or more quietly as they want to. Making sure that we're looking at inclusive elements of play as well. So there's a lot of things we're going to be talking about. Also, how do we support some of the board's interest in, social emotional learning, etc. And we can support this in a physical environment. So it's definitely not about tearing down. It's also how can we augment this with extra other opportunities as well.
I have a question now. There was talk about future and other playgrounds. Are we looking to revamp some of the other playgrounds which probably was updated, let's say, probably 15 or so years ago, they now become outdated? That's one thing. And then I know that a few years ago, there was a group here, a community group that did play and learn in an environment. There was discussion at Southside Community Center. They've gotten a whole community, and there's a teacher within the school district that's part of a group that does play and learn. And have we connected with some of those individuals?
No, the answer that what we would like to do is invite Beverly J. Martin to look and watch and learn from this process, and then that would be the next playground. I think that another playground that's really part of the community center. And so that would be one of the pieces that the next jump that we're going to move to. And as far as other teachers, there are teachers actually that Dr. Lovick is already connected with and community partners, and we can definitely invite.
Definitely,
I can talk about some of those.
Yeah, with other working in or interested in working in, like, all of my work is, with community partners. I don't separate that, so I'm looking for anyone who wants to be at the table. I think, and it's not just about places, schoolyards, school grounds, or play spaces that might be outdated or even having trouble. You can, even for not a lot of cost, you can actually really supplement what is there and provide more opportunity and more diversity in the opportunities we're providing. So it can be not about replacing, but saying how can we augment, and really we find particularly when there's tension around things, when the kids and when the community has a voice, particularly when some of the students are leading, with their wishes and needs for these spaces, that also tends to temper some of the more extreme, not opinions, but I mean, there's some emotional responses that are going to happen with this playground, which we'll be really cognizant of. But with centering the children's voices around this, it can be a help. And they'll communicate what they want and need, and how we can utilize, or like you say, not repurpose, but honor what is there and what experience that's providing. And we know it's a bit of a destination for a lot of people as well. So don't lose that aspect. And I don't do anything in a vacuum, like it's not or without I don't do something and come in and say this, but not at all. Opposite of that.
My other thought at this point is that when we get to that stage, we'll want to be careful about keeping something available during construction or it is a relatively small space for a bunch of kids.
Unfortunately, Jill, when we take that playground, it's gonna be off limits for the duration that we're doing.
Even that upper area, I mean, I was.
The whole area, because there's
Really?
like large equipment running through there, you know, the kids in there. They'll still have the other side of the school to play on. I think from a safety perspective of community.
No, but summer, I'm less
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah, we would, that would be when we would schedule that.
Okay. I was dreading the thought of a whole year without
Oh.
just being able to be outside.
Depending on the elements, you know, I've seen Dr. Lobach's presentation and was very impressed that she's got like dry stream bed or a planting area. Really, once you get that space cleared up and whatever components we have, it's not all, I gotta sink foundations for all these poles. Some of that can be quite easily accomplished with grading and just bringing in natural materials to create those spaces. Looking forward to it. I think it'll be a much more exciting playground than I've ever seen put in before with plastic and steel structures.
Karen, I forgot about the work we were doing previously with a group about
Right.
coaching the play. If you have any of that information, you send them. I mean, I'll be looking for it tonight, but we had multiple community meetings, discussions, and imagining sessions and
Yeah.
those sort of things.
Yeah, I'd love to connect with any of those folks and any materials, would be great. One last comment I want to make is that, also one thing that we look at, and right now I have, number of grad students working with me from our program, Human Centered Design, Landscape Architecture, and planning, as we're doing some pre-work, and part of that group, we're also looking at making sure these are climate ready and climate friendly, climate resilient spaces, and can be suitable outdoor spaces, not just for the school, but for the community. When we get more extreme weather, we get more extreme conditions that we're really thinking long term, that these are going to be cool spaces or warm spaces if need be, and I think anything we're putting in there that is going to be able to withstand more extreme conditions, that we might be feeling.
All right, thanks very much. We'll
Thank you
look
very
forward
much.
to
Yes.
more.
Thanks, folks.
And
Maybe the sticker back.
thank you. Unless I'm missing something, we are done with our facility for this evening. And we'll move on to our meeting. Thank you, everyone. Commission.